Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances always to Srila Prabhupada. I welcome everyone to His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj's daily call. Thank you all for joining. Today we are going to continue Srimad Bhagavatam series of 12th canto, 2nd chapter, verse number 4. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances always to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for giving your time and association. Actually, I'm covering for Sri Devi Mataji today. She gave me a last minute notice that she can't host because of her internet connection. So I just jumped in. Maharaj, please excuse for my appearance. Thank you so much. I'll just share my screen, Maharaj. Sorry. Yes, Maharaj. Please.
Okay. Thank you. My obeisances to you and to all the devotees. Panchakalpa Tarubhascha, Kripa Sindhu Bhavacha, Gitano, Bhavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. So the chapter is the degradations in the age of Kali, and here we are in verse number 4, chapter 2 from the 11th canto. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Lingameva Sriram Kyatva Anyoya Patikaranam Avidyaninyaya Daubalam Pandite Panditye Chapalam Vachaha. Translation: a person's spiritual position will be ascertained according to the external symbols, and on that basis, people will change from one spiritual order to another. A person's propriety will be seriously questioned if he does not earn a good living, and one who is very clever at juggling words will be considered a learned scholar. Prabhupada's purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. A previous verse stated that in the age of Kali, the priestly class will be recognized by external symbols alone, and this verse extends the same principle to the other orders of society, namely political, the military class, business, or the productive class, and finally the labor or the artisan class. Modern sociologists have demonstrated that in those societies chiefly governed by the Protestant ethic, poverty is considered a sign of indolence, dirtiness, stupidity, immorality, and worthlessness. In a God-conscious society, however, many persons voluntarily decide to dedicate their lives not to material acquisition, but rather to pursuit of knowledge and spirituality. Thus, a preference for the simple and austere may indicate intelligence, self-control, and sensitivity to the higher purpose of life. Of course, in itself, poverty does not establish these virtues, but it may sometimes be the result of them. In the Kali Yuga, however, this possibility is often forgotten. Umagyan Timiranda Syagana Jana Sahalakaya Chaksu Unnalitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruvena Mahat Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine. Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pasyadya Desutane Vanchakalpa Turubhascha Vipa Sindhu Pevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama. This is Srila Prabhupada spent a good part of his lectures exposing pretentious spiritual practitioners. He wasn't intimidated by their popularity, by their so-called status in society. He simply exposed what was cheating in the name of religion. And he often did that and made that his most important focus, as it says in his prana mantra, Nirvishesha Sunyavari Pastyathyade Satarine. He adopted that to expose what is cheating and to establish what is real religion, pure devotion to the Supreme Lord. And when Prabhupada was, if you go through his lectures, you'll see how much he emphasized this point. Now we're seeing also that the other varnas, the political or military class, the business or productive class, the laborers and the artisan class also, although they perform these activities, many of them are not qualified to do the work. For instance, the political or military class is meant to organize society in such a way as spiritual knowledge filters into the people itself, and at the same time, they follow very carefully their religious practice. Prabhupada made that point, that it's the duty of the leaders to see that everyone is following some practice of true religion, whether it's Christianity, Islam, or Hare Krishna. In other words, there has to be some genuine spirituality being practiced, religious life being practiced in the society. And it's the duty of the political or military class to make sure people are following. It's a requirement. Just as they require to tax people, they should also make laws that people cannot be atheists. They have to be following a particular type of tradition. And then that is inspired by the Brahminical class. But nowadays, you'll see that the politicians are very eager to get into office in order to position themselves in a very good financial situation, where many of them have access to the incoming taxes and are given by the people in different branches of society, and they take advantage of that. Therefore, many of them are exposed later on as being cheaters and frauds in their attempt to hide their real program for taking position of leadership. So you see, 4th class, 5th class, 10th class people are coming to the position of leadership in society. Therefore, there's no leadership. Everything is topsy-turvy. Everything is based on money. Everything is based on economic gain. Therefore, society functions in that way, and people are being squeezed constantly. They're not getting what they need to live properly, and at the same time, they're being tax possessed in order to pad the pockets of these false politicians. The military class is meant to protect the people, but they can't do that. Although they're very expert at producing ammunition and big types of armaments that can destroy large cities, they can't give protection to the common people on a day-to-day basis. As it says, people cannot even walk the streets at night in most big cities around the world because there are so many thieves, dacoits, and undesirable persons waiting to take advantage of people who are out and about around that time. So that's the example of how they're supposed to give protection in the form of police officers, but they can't do it. If they did, then there would be no criminals lurking to take advantage of people. They would expose these criminals and punish them rightly. But this whole society is topsy-turvy, and people, crime is one of the biggest business in the world. And many of the leaders also get kickbacks from criminals who engage in big type of money adventures. So you have a very upside down, and then the productive class or the business class, they're meant to protect cows. They're meant to do banking and commerce. They're meant to provide they are the breadbasket of society. They're meant to provide food. And nowadays, they're paying the farmers to destroy their crops. They're forcing farms to close. They're pushing people into the city. There's no emphasis on, supporting the Vaishya class. They struggle greatly. In India, the Vaishya class, or the farmers in India, they have the highest suicide rate amongst the society. Why? Because many of them lived in a very simple and an agrarian type lifestyle, and that's all they knew. And now many of them are being pushed out by these factory farms, by these GMO programs, and they have no livelihood, so they run to the cities looking for some kind of shelter, and then they find no employment. I'm in India now. If you travel around India in the big cities, you see so many people loitering in the streets, just gangs of people standing around doing nothing and just talking, or just engaging in some kind of useless activity. That's becoming more and more prominent in India. There's a large class of unemployment based on destroying the farms. And of course, in Western countries, it's also the same thing, but even more so, where factory farms are pushing out all the small farmers, and the farmers have to go to work into these factory jobs in order to make a living. So they're really squeezing out the Vaishya class, and those who deal with money are always dealing with money for profit, for their own satisfaction. Now you see so many programs where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And then you have the artisan laborer class, because they are meant to do things to support the other classes. They also want to have a position in society. So they posture themselves in different ways in order to get. And you'll see that even in spiritual circles, that people come into our movement so they can find a nice position, get a good get a good kickback based on their position, and have some control, some power. The people have enjoyed spiritual movements who are business-like minded to take advantage of making money through spiritual practices. So this is Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is just, as it says in 11th canto of Bhagavatam, or 12th canto of Bhagavatam, Kalir Dosha Nidhi Rajana Asti Eko Mahamunaha. Kirtane Eva Krishnasya Bhukta Sangam Param Bhajet. This verse we just quoted is from this same chapter that we're reading from, and verse number 51 in this same chapter, that this Kali Yuga is an ocean, faults, unlimited amounts of problems. People are liars, cheaters, debauchees, women hunters, drunkards, just filled with all kinds of vice, especially those who have money. They use their money to increase their vice-like activities. Now, this is Kali Yuga, and it will continue to grow in that same way, but at the same time, because of the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Sankirtan movement is alive, and as it grows, it will continue to influence the effects of Kali. And honest people will take to the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. This is Lord Chaitanya's big plan, and he will execute it. He is executing it now, accordingly. So that is the hope in this age, because in this age, you can't live a good material life, even if you want to. It's not allowed, because everything is based on lying, cheating, and businesses that are exploitative of the common person. Here it mentions that if you're poor, then that's a sign of various types of lower qualities, such as immorality, worthlessness, dirtiness, stupidity, laziness. So this Protestant ethic, the Protestant ethic means work hard, make money. That is the Protestant ethic. And therefore, if one does not follow that, then one is classified as useless. And if one takes to a spiritual life and somehow or other adopts voluntarily accepting poverty, they are also, either Srila Prabhupada mentions how people would criticize our movement that they're simply a burden on the society. You don't work, yet you're living off society. So you have become a burden on society. But Prabhupada would respond, we are not living off society, we're living off Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he is Bhagavan. He controls all of the riches. But because we are serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is providing everything we need to live nicely and happily, and at the same time, helping us to come back to the goal of life, which is pure devotional service to himself. So we are not parasites. We are actually contributing one of the most important principles to society, that if you really want to be happy, then you must take up service to the Supreme Lord. And this is your constitutional nature. This is your hidden treasure. Once you engage in it, you will understand the value of it. So yeah, everything is topsy-turvy. What is considered to be acceptable by spiritual standards is considered to be unacceptable by today's material standards. So these are some of the anomalies in this age of Kali, which goes to the four orders of life. Here we mentioned the military class, the politicians, the business class, the farmers, and ultimately the workers. Okay, so let me see, how far did we get down the page?
We have one more paragraph left, Maharaj.
that last paragraph. Okay. All right, we'll explore this last one. Intellectuality is another casualty of the bewildering age of Kali. Modern so-called philosophers and scientists have created a technical, esoteric terminology for each branch of learning. And when they give lectures, people consider them very learned simply because of their ability to speak to which no one else can understand. In Western culture, the Greek sophists were among the first to systematically argue for rhetoric and efficiency above wisdom and purity. And sophistry certainly flourishes in the 20th century. Modern universities have very little wisdom, though they do possess a virtual infinity of technical data. Although many modern thinkers are fundamentally ignorant of the higher spirituality, they are, so to speak, good talkers, and most people simply don't notice their ignorance. If you're a fast talker and you can use some big words that people don't understand, you're considered to be very learned. And if you can dress in a certain way, people will also consider you to be very important. So nothing has to do with character or abilities that come by way of one's natural development. None of these things are there. So this age is a low-class man. If he knows how to learn how to speak, he can also get a job and cheat people in different ways, or he can start his own movement. Nowadays, it's very fashionable to come up with your own ideas, formulate those ideas, write a book about it, put it out there, and it seems to be attractive to a certain class of people. They sell their book, people read the book, nothing changes in their life, but it looks like something new, something beneficial. So sophistry, at best, but real cheating is actually the standard in this age. So this is Kali Yuga. But it says here, modern universities have very little wisdom, although they have a lot of information. Prabhupada was talking about even in countries like the United Kingdom, where they have their parliament of the House of Lords and the House of Commons. So some guy comes in and gives a speech, they record the speech, they transcribe it into some written form, and they package it up, wrap it up in something, and put it in a big room full of other speeches. They have the hundreds and thousands of speeches that nobody is going to ever read. It just sits there. And they just collect all of these useless speeches that have been going on for the years. So this is an example of how knowledge or information for the sake of information. I remember one time I was invited to go to one college, one university. And I was to give a class, so I was taken into the professor's office before I began my class. And I was kind of like somewhat amazed to see his library. His library was all the way up to the ceiling, and he had a very high ceiling in his room. He had books that he couldn't even reach. He would need a huge ladder to get to them. And they covered 3 walls in his room. There were hundreds, and I mean, close to thousands of books. I was tempted to ask him if he read all of the books, but then I could understand that was a useless question. And so, yeah, we have these people who just collect knowledge for the sake of collecting knowledge. They have no wisdom, because the goal of knowledge is to become wise. Wisdom means that one can think based on the knowledge they receive and make what we say decisions that are beneficial to oneself and to others. That's why they say wisdom. But here it says that sophistry means, well, if you can speak nicely, or if you can get things done quickly and more efficiently, that seems to be more beneficial for people in general. And they criticize people who have knowledge and say they don't do anything, and therefore they don't contribute anything to society. So this is Kali Yuga. And if they're good talkers, people, they can hide their ignorance by these words. Prabhupada, even one time he was talking about this and he started to imitate them. And it was so funny what he was doing. Prabhupada was creating these false words by making sentences out of these false words just to show how ludicrous and how what they do in order to hide behind some words that nobody understands, not even them. So it's not intellectualism, it's just masquerading their ignorance in the form of some external show of knowledge. So that's today, and you can see, if you really analyze these statements that expose the deficiencies in the age of Kali, you can see that there's so many problems. And if society was so advanced, why are there so many problems? And the problems just continue to decrease. That shows that there's no leadership, there's no knowledge, and everything is based on money. And if you have money, Prabhupada said, even if you want to hide something, in other words, if you do something wrong, you can pay your way out with money. If you want to get something done, if you have money, you can pay to get it done, no matter what it is. So money talks, and everything centers around money. But Srila Prabhupada said it's a false sense of stability, money. It has no real stabilization in a person's life. And it's a charade for reality. In other words, if you have money, you look good. But that's all. But you're not, even though you're not good, you can look good simply by money. And if you can speak very highfalutin language that nobody can understand, I think, oh, wow, he's so intelligent. We can't understand anything he said. He must be really, have a knowledge of the rocket scientists. It's like, it's more like the story of the, what is it? The king's clothes. The king's clothes, the story of the king's clothes. So a king, he wanted to get some new clothes. So one seamstress said, I'll make you the best clothes, but these clothes will be invisible. And they'll be the best clothes. And so this false seamstress supposedly put together some false clothes, invisible clothes, and gave it to the king. The king supposedly put on these invisible clothes. And everyone was saying, the king is coming and he's dressed in his newest of all clothes. So the king is walking down the street and he's naked. But at the same time, it's announced the king's new clothes. So everybody's saying, oh, the clothes are so beautiful. Except for one little boy. He just noticed the king. He said, why is the king naked? So, yeah, everyone else was saying, oh, yes, look at the nice clothes. There was no clothes there. So in the same way, everybody's saying, oh, he's so intelligent. But he's, he doesn't know anything, but he's very good at speaking. That's it. This is Kali Yuga. Okay, so therefore it says that speech should be backed up. One should speak truthfully and beneficially, avoid speech that offends others, and one should quote regularly Shastras to support whatever one says. That is called the austerity of speaking.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Really, these verses are giving a clear picture of Kali Yuga, how it's degrading, and also how people are in this Kali Yuga. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for this wonderful class. Dear devotees, if you have any questions or comments or realizations, you can please go ahead and please turn on your cameras if possible. Thank you.
We have such a small number tonight.
Yes, Maharaj, yeah. December 31st today, weekend. So
New Year's party takes place. Another feature of Kali Yuga.
we have some programs in the temple too, Maharaj.
Spiritual people will opt for material activities over spiritual activities when it becomes certain holidays of the year.
In here in Dallas, we have a Kirtan 50 program, like 50 hours of Kirtan for this weekend, Maharaj. So since yesterday it started, it goes until Jan 2nd afternoon. So it's like a huge festival. We have all popular Kirtaniyas here. And we have His Holiness B.B. Govinda Swami Maharaj also in Dallas.
Who else is here?
B.B. Govinda Swami Maharaj, His Holiness B.B. Govinda Swami Maharaj.
Yeah,
who else? Amala Harinam Prabhuji and Akinchana Krishna Prabhuji and Bada Haridas Prabhuji was expected, but he was not there. And Nadia Mani Mataji and several other local singers are also there. Maharaj.
Nice. Yeah, we're doing a program till 10 o'clock tonight. We're going to be doing some chanting, and then on the weekend of the 20th, 21st, and 22nd, we're doing a 3-day kirtan program here on January 20 through 22nd.
Oh, nice.
If anybody's in India, come on.
Where Maharaj, in which temple it is happening?
This is Radha Gopinath Temple, Chalpan.
Okay. Yes.
The only problem is you might find it hard to find accommodations.
Yeah.
If you can come, maybe just stay for one day. It's nice.
Nice opportunity. Yes, Maharaj. Yeah.
And it'll be not a big name kirtan people will be here. Okay.
So, Maharaj, we have some comments or question on the chat by Scarlett Mataji. She is saying that she can't speak. She is having a fasting speech and she's messaging on the chat. She is saying that how do one protect themselves when one can't even trust those who fail to protect you due to Kali Yuga, when only pure chanting and without offense, even if one do it best to chant, it is so very difficult to not be afraid to chant due to fear of offense.
I missed the very beginning.
Yes, Maharaj, yeah. How do one get to protect themselves when one even can't trust those who fall to protect you due to Kali Yuga? When only pure chanting and without offense, even if one do it best to chant, it is so very difficult not to be afraid to chant.
I can't understand the question.
Yeah, even I'm trying to figure it out, Maharaj. I think
But themselves against what? What are they trying to protect themselves against?
Maybe she's asking generally, like the devotees of the congregation, maybe Maharaj. So if she has to depend on them by trusting them.
Well, you can't trust devotees, and who can you trust?
Yeah.
You have to find those devotees who you can trust. Trust is the basis of relationships. Without trust, you can't build a relationship.
Okay, Maharaj. Yeah.
You see that a disciple will get to know the spiritual master will get to know the disciple. A certain trust develops based on activity and responsibility between each. And then the next stage is that there is initiation. So when you get married, you get to learn about your spouse, and you develop a feeling of trust amongst you, and then that helps you enter into that relationship of marriage. So you go to work and get a particular job, you also have to develop a kind of trust that the job that you have will be supported nicely by those who are employing you. You can trust those who are in charge. Trust builds relationships, and distrust breaks relationships. Trust means to get to know through experience about the person.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you. Devotees, any questions or comments? So, yes, Namrata Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Shri Prabhupada, all glories to your holy feet, all glories to the present assembled devotees. So Guru Maharaj, I don't have a question though, but I just wanted to share a realization, the experience today. So thank you for your wonderful association today. Thank you very much for your wonderful association today. And after when I left temple, I went to an art gallery, and there I could preach two of the persons, two strange persons, and they were interested in a spiritual life. So somehow, I don't know how they came, they started talking to me, and they agreed to, buy Bhagavad Gita, and they were really interested in reading it. So I suggested them starting with the Bhagavad Gita, and this was my first experience talking to strangers and, asking them to read Bhagavad Gita, and they were really interested. So I just told them, go ahead.
Wonderful. It's such great satisfaction in seeing how someone becomes interested in Krishna consciousness by your efforts. Yeah. Right.
Yes.
It's also good to carry a few books along with you or something, some flyers,
Yes.
invitations to the temple, mantra cards. So when you do meet people, you can connect them right away.
Yes, I thought so, Guru Maharaj. I had a book, but it was it was a part of Chaitanya Charitamrita, so that was I think I couldn't have offered him. But he was very happy. He was asking about the activities of ISKCON, and I also suggested him about this GV. So he was quite firm that I will go there and look at the. I told him of the farm communities, what Prabhupada has. He was fascinated by that thing. So it was a good experience.
Good, wonderful. Continue.
Yes, thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, make all the artists in Bombay Krishna conscious.
And the girl who met at the temple, Guru Maharaj, she was telling that she also heard about some Buddhist meditation. She went there and I didn't I mean question her though, but she said that they have differentiation in opinions in in philosophy, but she was kind of mixing the meditation with the spiritual philosophy of ISKCON, and she was trying to experiment something new in her life. So I said, okay, you can go on with that.
Yeah, I was impressed by her because she had gone through all of life's experiences, and now she has come to Krishna consciousness. And it appears from the way she was talking that she's now going to dedicate her life to that.
She said she's into all these things since 6 years, but she hasn't ended up with something. So she's looking something, as she said.
When they start chanting, then everything will become clear.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. I'll pray for her, Guru Maharaj. Thank you.
Yeah, encourage her to.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Sure. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for sharing that, Mataji. Thank you. So, Maharaj, I have a question. Like, when you are saying that these materialistic people are very intelligent, these materialistic people are very intelligent. Like they show themselves as intelligent, and but they don't take up seriously. So all that. So I was thinking, like so many people around us, they are much more focused on. Getting up all the material things for themselves or getting higher positions, but they don't take up spirituality very seriously, or they don't want to come into this so how to encourage them, Maharaj? Like they have everything, but they still be focusing on their only daily routine, and they say that, oh, we don't have time for all this. How do you do all this? They appreciate for 1 or 2 times for devotees, but they don't really try to come, because suppose if any outside any people, any person who is in poverty, they are struggling for material things, but even though they are materially sound and they are very rich, they don't take up spirituality. I was wondering, like how to bring them into Krishna consciousness, and how to, that's my question, Maharaj.
It's hard for people who are in that position and they're so-called materially, they're thinking they're okay materially. You can just, I don't know, usually people like that, it says that the 4 kinds of people never come to Krishna consciousness. The gross fool, and the persons who are pushing society towards political and social institutions as a solution for all the problems. Maya eat the ground, those whose knowledge has been stolen by all kinds of wrong philosophies. The so-called intellectuals and scientists, and Asuryam Bhavamasritam, those who are atheists. So Krishna mentions these four, they never come to Krishna consciousness. So all you can do is just maybe invite them to the temple, give them some prasadam, and maybe when their material life falls apart, they'll start to look towards spiritual life. That's the only thing that will help them if the material life starts to crash in on them. And then they might start taking towards Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, they're locked into the illusion that they're okay.
Yes, Maharaj, yeah. Yeah, I'm trying that. We are trying that. Yeah, but still sometimes we feel that they say always that we don't have time for all this. How do you manage to do everything? Yeah.
What can you do? You can't worry about it.
Yeah.
Focus on people who are open, who who are more receptive.
Mm.
You just waste time with these other people.
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Yes, Namrita Mataji, you have one.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I was just wondering today that many people who seems to be open-minded, whose families are open-minded, so they give freedom to their family that you have your own choices, you can make your own choices. And since there are a lot of spiritual paths around us, so when we have this kind of freedom, even in one family, many times they end up choosing different kind of paths because they are definitely spiritually inquisitive, but sometimes with their own consciousness, with their own past karmas, due to that they end up choosing different paths. So this, in somewhere, there is a clash.
Unless they come into association with devotees, they will continue to stay in the same. It's only by devotee association people change. That's shocking. Until they get in association with devotees and see the devotees and maybe even take part in some of the activities, they will continue the way they're doing. Locked into the material world. The only way they can get out of it is somehow or other they come in association with devotees. Or their material world falls apart and they turn to spiritual life as a solution. Otherwise, go on the way they are.
Guru Maharaj, what happens that sometimes when a devotee is surrounded by such people, it's very difficult for that person, for a devotee to, present something or maybe talk something about that.
Don't be surrounded by such people. Avoid those. Avoid those.
Okay, but what if the persons are unavoidable? They are in the family.
Oh, family members, you can't do anything with them. The hardest persons to preach to is your family. It's impossible.
We don't want to.
Because they see you in the role that you play in the family. They don't see you now. You come out of that role and you're now trying to tell them what to do in life. They think, who is she? She's younger than us. What is her? Who is she now? Now she reads a few books and now she tells us what to do.
Yes, Kumar, that happens all the time. So,
don't worry about family members. Forget about them. And aside from your son, the rest of they'll come by the way of your own spiritual progress. You don't have to preach to them at all. just practice Krishna consciousness, and by Krishna's grace, they may also receive some mercy. But can't convince them. They're set in their ways. Many of them are senior to you in age. You know, so. Nice.
So we should.
You want to help your family, but there's the bigger family out there, family of devotees. It's the bigger family. Okay,
Yes.
what is your question?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. I understand that, but then
No. Just don't push the point anymore. I can see you're just going into the wrong direction. Just forget about it. Just work on your own spiritual life. And they benefited from you. Don't worry about it. Don't waste your time and your energy on them.
okay, Guru Maharaj. Okay.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Your son, he's inclined to Krishna consciousness because he's inclined to you. So, you know, that's a person you can put all of your attention to. Guide him in spiritual life. Today he came, I asked him how many rounds he's chanting. He said 1. I said, all right, now you chant 2. He immediately agreed. If you're going to say that to your relatives, they're going to just give an excuse. Forget it. You're too attached to your family.
No, Guru Maharaj, I'm not attached, but it sometimes becomes difficult to, even respond to them. So I'm just asking, whenever they're talking, we should be diplomatic and, just close down the topic, or we should.
Just tell them Krishna's God and we're all his servants. And I'm going to serve God and you can serve whatever way you want.
Okay, Guru Maharaj.
You have to get sometimes strong with some people like that. Can't be nice because they'll just twist you around their fingers. Prabhupada,
Okay.
whatever Krishna says, that's all we need to know. We don't need to hear from anybody else.
Okay, Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much.
I've seen it. The reason I'm speaking like this is I've seen it thousands of times. People waste time trying to convince their family members, and they get worn out. And after some time they stop because they realize they can't do anything.
I totally understand that, Guru Maharaj.
Even in the Christian tradition, it says the most difficult place to preach is your own hometown. Yeah, Christ said, leave your own hometown. That way you can preach. I had to leave America so I could preach. Seriously.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
You're wasting your time and energy.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. I will not waste my time. Don't worry, Guru Maharaj. I assure you that.
Just do your own puja and your own worship and carry on. They'll see that you're happy and you're doing nothing.
Yes.
I need some association here.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, thank you, Namata Mataji.
Okay.
Sridevi Mataji, you want to go ahead?
Thank you. Yeah, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, as you rightly pointed out, right in the beginning of the class, you said that people who are business-minded, sometimes they join religious organizations, spiritual organizations, and then after that, it's the same old thing, how will I get money, how will I get power, and so on. So when such people are in prominent leadership positions, and that's all we can see and that's all we can understand, how can we find those who are sincerely doing seva and really doing some nice projects, and how can we join such people when they are in the background, nobody knows about them, and hardly anyone hears of them?
Try to understand one principle. You can't speak to people who don't want to hear. If you understand that principle, you won't waste time with people who don't want to hear. You're doing the same thing as Namrat is doing. People don't want to hear, don't waste time. Go to people who want to hear. There's millions of people out there who's looking for spiritual life. Don't waste time. Don't try to convince people who are not convincible, who are not interested. It says preaching means we go to people who are receptive, who want to hear, who want to learn, who want to change. Don't waste time with other people. You just waste time. It's like banging your head against the wall. That's a principle of preaching, is to preach to those who are receptive. Because for them to understand, then they have to be open. So they're ready. For people who are not, you just get into arguments. That's all. You waste time. You say this and they say that, and you say this and they say that. And they always have their reasons. Don't waste time. Prabhupada emphasized, this is a principle of preaching. You don't preach to people who don't want to hear. Preach to people who want to hear. It's like I'm preaching to you because you came online today. You had a choice to come online or not because you want to hear.
Guru Maharaj, I got that point, I hope. What I'm trying to say is, I want to associate with those who are also serious and sincere about Krishna consciousness. And how can I find that association when only the other people are in the limelight? We don't get to hear of people who are sincerely doing something because they're all hidden away. No one talks about them. They are not in the limelight. We don't even know who are the people who are doing some serious, sincere service here.
I can find them easy. Just follow me. I know where they are. So when I come to Mayapur, just come with me. Huh?
Done, Maharaj. Haribol.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Yeah. Devotees, any more questions or comments? Yeah. Scarlett Mataji is asking, who say that they do not believe in karma, what to say to those people?
So ask them if they believe in suffering. Ask him if they say, ask him two questions. You believe in suffering, and do you want suffering? Nobody wants suffering, but they get it anyway. Karma. They don't believe in karma, but at the same time, they're suffering. And they don't want it. So what is that? Right?
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah. Thank you so much. Hope that answers your question, Mataji. Okay. Yeah. Maharaj, I think there are no more questions. So we are end of the.
Okay,
Maharaj?
thank you very much. And tomorrow we'll begin the new year. On Sunday, not Sunday, but Monday, we'll have our special class at 7:15.
Yes, Maharaj. I'll post the link and I'll remind devotees to join on the WhatsApp groups. I'll post the link. Maharaj.
And tomorrow, we'll do a special New Year's program.
Yes, Maharaj.
Wear your New Year's hat and put your little whistle that you blow and it shoots out and back in. Get dressed for the program.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Yeah, dear devotees. So, yeah, as Maharaj said, so get ready and come back tomorrow for the class.
Prabhupada used to say, in Krishna consciousness, every day is a celebration. Meaning that we're celebrating going back home, back to Godhead, and we're enjoying the means by which to get there.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, dear devotees. See you all tomorrow. Wish you a very happy new year. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Lucky for hosting today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maharaj.
And my apologies because my internet didn't work until the point I joined Guru Maharaj. I'm so sorry. In spite of paying, anyway, I have to apologize. Things like that happen here. What to do?
Okay, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you very much, Gurudev. Hare Krishna.
We see Dhanvantari, we got
Hare Krishna.